Hello everyone, welcome to RetroComms. Since this is my first video for my first channel, I figure I ought to get things started off right with some 90s era vintage Motorola phones. The phones that you see here are known as MicroT.A.C, short for Micro Total Area Coverage, similarly to how Dynatac stands for Dynamic Total Area Coverage in their earlier lines. Now, compared to the Dynatac, these phones are considered micro, but if you look at them in comparison to a more modern phone, such as the Samsung Galaxy S5, they're quite thick and bulky, and they're about the same length with the antenna retracted. But these phones are not modern phones. Most of them, if my research is correct, only support AMPS, or amps, or the analog network. We have in front of us here basically predecessors to flip phones. We have the 650E Plus, we have the, what I think is the Digital Personal Communicator 550 according to my research. I could be mistaken. The DPCs that I've seen have black keypads, or the DPC 550s I've seen have black keypads and green displays. As you'll see later, this phone's LCD display shows up in red. This phone, I'm not really quite sure exactly what its proper model is, but as you can see here on the bottom, it's called the Motorola America series. This probably isn't qualified as a MicroT.A.C since it doesn't flip open like the other phones I have here, but it's probably still made in the same era. If someone has some information on this, let me know in the comments. I've always been curious about this phone and I can't find much on it online. Now, you're all probably wondering why these phones are so thick. Part of it is the equipment that's used inside, and another part is the battery. These phones' batteries are quite thick compared to a lot of modern phone batteries. You can see that especially here on the 650E Plus and here with the America series. Now, I believe that these two thicker ones are actually extended batteries compared to this one, which is a bit more narrow and gives the phone a much smaller profile. Let's speed this up. And as you can see, the batteries just slide back on. Showing you this one here. Fits on pretty securely, but adds a good bit of weight and thickness to the phone. Now, I'm sure that you're all probably wondering whether or not these phones still work after all this time. The short answer is sort of. The long answer is that yes, they do work, but you can't use them as they were intended anymore. One, because the analog cellular network is no longer active in most places, and two, these old batteries have completely discharged. And the only way that I can get these powered on is to have them connected to the chargers, which I'm about to show you here in a second. The America series, if that's the correct model, charges with a coaxial connector. The DPC 550 can charge on this power cradle along with a second battery. proprietary connector. It's also found on the other MicroT.A.C. Now all of them are plugged in and charging. Let's see if this one works. It's already giving us some signs of life here. Maybe it'll go on and power on. There we go. Even after roughly 20 years, it still works. Even on a discharged battery. Now, the various menus and functions of this phone can be accessed by pressing buttons on the keypad, but for now, I'm just impressed that I got this thing back online and working. Now, it can't be used to make any calls or can't send SMS, never could send SMS, but at least it still functions and you can still access the menus and see the intended uses. Alright everyone, since this phone is on and charging, I should show you some of the menus and functions. In order to access them, I'll press the function button along with the number that corresponds to the desired setting or menu I want to access. For example, to check the status of the battery, I'll press function and then the number 4. Internal charge on is what I believe that stands for. And then it just returns back to the on screen. Let's see what we get when we press function and 6. This mutes the phone. Since it's in vibrate only, I guess it didn't do anything. Function and 5 locks the phone, and function and 1 is the menu. I guess we press this to return. Both of these seem to return me to the same screen here, just with the word on. So I'm not quite sure how to store a contact or anything like that on this phone. These really didn't come with the user manual, so it's interesting to see how far we've come. Today our phones can do 10 times more than what this one can. That's a conservative estimate, but this thing is much more capable than the models that came before it. Now we'll power it off. And there it goes, just into its charging rest state here. And now we come to this one. It's been charging over here in its power cradle. This charger supports the phone and an external battery, and it's meant to charge both overnight. Let's open it up and see if it still powers on, if I can keep it firmly on its terminals here. That's indicated by these lights down here in the bottom corner. It's not wanting to power on for us now. That could be due to the fact that this battery is over 20 years old, or it could be due to the fact that this method of charging is a bit unreliable. It's easy to move the phone out of the cradle, and it's easy for the phone to slip out of place when inserting or removing it. It's easy for the phone to slip out of place while inserting it. Instead, since the phone does have a similar port to the 650E Plus that I got to come on, I should try charging it on its connector. Now, we didn't quite get that on camera. That port's a little bit hard to deal with, especially on this version of the phone. But it's already turned on. And as you can see, I can turn it off and turn it back on. And it appears to be working. As with the previous one, we can't make any calls or send any texts or take any pictures or anything like that with it. But that's not what this phone was made to do. In the era that these phones were produced, they were simply communicators. Some had phone books and fax support, but I think these have address books. I'm not quite sure. It's been a good little while since I've interacted with them. Let's take this out of here and go check on the other one. Well, look what we have here. I had to turn the light on my camera off so we could see this. But this phone is showing us a little red light down here, which if I remember correctly, that means it's charging. Let's press the power button and see. Nothing yet. It must need to charge a while longer. We're still getting the same red light we had earlier. Now that the battery is charged a bit longer, let's see if we get any results. It's not coming on. Let's see if we have any other options to charge it. It also has the same port that the 650E and the digital personal communicator have. Let's take it over there and try it on that connector and see if that yields better result. Not sure if you guys can see it on here, but it has a little nib or a bit or something here that protrudes out, and it will not properly insert into the phone with that piece being on there. Can't quite insert it very well on camera because this phone slides, and also because that bit is there interfering with the connection. So a 650E Plus connector will not charge every model of MicroT.A.C. You guys didn't see it on camera, but I had a little bit of trouble getting it into the DPC over there because of this same protrusion here on the back. It worked and it went in, but it didn't feel as good as connecting it to the 650E Plus. You can tell that this charger was made to charge this phone only, and that each of these had a proprietary port that was slightly different. And they don't look different on camera, at least not to me, and they certainly don't look different to my eyes. So I would think that this charger could charge them all, but it cannot. Another interesting thing to note is that the 650E Plus and the America series came to me in the same box, along with this leather case. It feels like it was very nice at the time, but I can feel its age. Both of the wall chargers and this 12-volt car charger. On the end is the same connector that we saw on the 650E Plus, but it doesn't have that little niblet sticking out at the top, or on the bottom, depending on how you have the phone oriented. So I'm sure that if I needed to, I could connect it to this phone and it would charge. This is the 650E Plus's original box. So it's quite the interesting thing to have in my collection of phones. This MicroT.A.C came to me with both a standard battery and the extended battery I currently have on it, along with this charging cradle and the power supply used to connect it to the wall. It, along with the other two power supplies for the chargers, have been rather thick. As you can see, due to the need to supply the right amount of voltage and current to those batteries. I wonder what the battery life would have been like on those old phones. Now it's nearly non-existent because those batteries have been discharged so long. The sad thing about this phone, though, is that it's got a crack right there at the hinge. I'm not sure how to repair it, so for right now it's just going to have to stay like this. If anyone knows how, let me know down in the comments. Another point I would like to discuss about these handsets is their limitations when it comes to ports. For example, this one here only has this bottom port for charging the battery. No headphone jack, no other ports to speak of on this device. Due to the weight of this phone, going hands-free wouldn't be a bad option to have. Although this one is one of the lighter models I have here, with its standard battery attached. This one is slightly different. It has this same lower port for charging, but it also has a headphone jack, making it a better option as far as I'm concerned, especially for long use with this extended battery. Talking on this for a long time would be quite a hassle if there was no way to make it hands-free. This one has this same lower charging port here, but it also has what appears to be a coaxial charger, which didn't seem to work very well when I tried it. I wasn't able to get any life out of it, just a little red light. Now, for what they are though, these handsets are pretty reliable, it seems. After 20 years on the same battery, these two were able to power on just fine. And I'm sure that if I had the correct charger for this one, and one that fit it well, this one would power on too. Now, the coaxial charger I have for it is the correct one, but I think it requires charging via this bottom port to be able to come on. I might try with a car charger here in a moment. Go out to the vehicle and see if I can get it to come on over the 12 volts. But for now, this phone has only gave us a little red light down here when the coaxial connector was plugged in. It hasn't powered on and made any noise like these two have here. But overall, these are good handsets. Personally, if I needed a phone during the 90s, I would have used one, especially this one. Of the three, this one is the best looking and the most full featured since it has this headphone jack here. It's got a more sleek design. Now, it's not the thinnest thing in the world. I mean, as I showed you earlier, and it's a bit heavier than this one over here, the DPC, but it looks nicer and it seems to be more refined. You can tell that a lot more thought went into this phone and that a lot more development time had occurred. And although they're a lot different than, say, the clamshells of the 2000s, the MicroT.A.C were some of the earliest examples of flip phones. Now, this isn't the mouthpiece, though. So, the mouthpiece is still at the base of this handset, not embedded in this little lid. So, there's where it's different from modern clamshells. That, and it doesn't have a screen that flips open, like, say, something on the Razr or the Motorola V170 or phones like that, which I'll cover those in later videos. But the main thing is that these phones have held up well for what they are. And I'm impressed by them. And they have a quality that you can't find on anything else around. They've got a nice weight to them. They feel very substantial in the hand. And you know that you're holding a phone that's going to last a long time when you hold one of these. Now, I wouldn't say it's as durable as maybe the Nokia 3310. There are parts of them that seem a bit fragile, kind of like this one here that's cracked. But overall, they seem to be really good phones. So if you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I'll have more videos uploaded soon, and I apologize for any mistakes or errors that might be present in this video. This is my first time doing anything like this, and the reason I'm doing this is because I want to preserve these old phones. I don't know if their batteries will hold up another 10 or 20 years, and I want later generations to be able to see the technology that we had, and I want to show people how technology has progressed. I'm a phone collector, so you'll see a lot more interesting phones come up on this channel. Anything from stuff like this to 2000s feature phones and maybe a touchscreen device here and there. And I might even have something even more retro to show you guys. Well, thanks for watching. If you liked it, subscribe, comment. Any advice or questions that you might have for me, just drop them down below in the comments. And shout out to Rift Valley for making the intro music. Check out his SoundCloud in the link in the description. Thanks for watching. Here's a sneak peek at what's coming up next episode. I hope you guys are as excited about what's in this bag as I am, because I can't wait to show you all. And if you can't wait to find out, get subscribed so you can be one of the first to know when I make my next upload. Until then, I look forward to telling you more about all the retro communications technology, and I hope to see you all again. RetroComms signing off.